Hey everyone, welcome to the Rebel News Roundup. This is the program where we discuss cultural and governmental issues impacting the family. I'm your host, Ryan Dobson. Today we're going to discuss Biden-flation and gas prices, the FBI targeting concerned parents, radical school system policies, the left dividing our country, Roe v. Wade and extremist protest, abortion laws and Bill Maher, and again, abortion, protecting citizens, and the FBI. Thanks to today's sponsors, Covenant Eyes. Get rid of the porn in your life, CovenantEyes.com. Use the code REBEL for a free month. And thank you to all the monthly supporters. Thank you so much for keeping us on the air and doing what we're doing and staying in this fight. My goodness, I have so many notes, so let's get to it. Bidenflation. Recently, President Biden declared that taming the inflation, a problem that he's created, was his top domestic priority, and he is failing at that. If you've been to the supermarket or gas pumps lately, annual inflation has skyrocketed up to 8.3%. Airline tickets are up 33%. Energy costs are up more than 30%. Food costs, 11%. As the latest inflation reports revealed, Americans are still suffering under budget-busting sky-high prices. Gas prices are surging every single day. We're coming back from our vacation, and in vacation towns up in the mountains, gas is usually more expensive than the city. And I was waiting to get back to refill our van, and when we got back, realized the prices had gone up. And just recently, Biden canceled a massive sale of oil and natural gas leases in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico. All of us understand supply and demand. The less supply you have, the more prices go up. By canceling the leases, Biden is making sure there is less supply. That means Biden is making sure you are paying more at the pumps. Not Vladimir Putin, President Joe Biden. That is awful. Attorney General Merrick Garland's testimony recently stating that the FBI was not spying on parents who were concerned about their school children showing up at board meetings. Garland probably committed perjury on this, and it's a further evidence because new evidence has been released that the FBI did target and investigate concerned parents who showed up at school board meetings. The Bureau took calls from a, quote, snitch line and opened files on individuals concerned about the nonsense being taught in their schools. Garland probably committed perjury in his testimony, and it's further evidence how the White House and the left is weaponizing the Department of Justice and the FBI. This is awful. Speaking of schools, the National Science Teaching Association recently held sessions instructing kindergarten through high school teachers on how to, quote, queer your classroom. Yep, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's incorporating radical, extremist, gay agenda policies into science. Among other things, teachers are instructed not to refer to children as boys and girls, no longer use the phrase ladies and gentlemen. One instructor said, quote, when we talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, I connect the word spectrum to how gender and sexuality can be a spectrum. No, it's not. It's not a spectrum. There are two genders. Gracious. Our president claimed to be the president of unity, to bring both sides of the aisle together, to reach across the aisle, to build bridges. Recently, he said, MAGA, the Make America Great Again movement, was the most extreme political organization that has ever existed in American history. Seriously? Is it more extreme than the Black Lives Matter movement that had violent protests all over our country? Is it more extreme than Antifa, which is vandalizing and breaking into pregnancy resource centers and destroying property? Is it more extreme than the radical environmentalists that blow up pipelines? Is it more extreme than the Nation of Islam that took down the World Trade Centers and put bombs out there? Biden's also suggesting that conservatives want to ban contraception and kick LGBTQ children out of school. It's not true in any way, shape, or form. It's just what he wants. He wants to divide the country. Dividing the country is bad. Our leaders shouldn't be divisive. They should be bringing us together. It's also a moment that we can learn from. MAGA, Make America Great Again. What do they normally stand for? By the way, don't go to the extremes. Don't go to the guy in the fur hat with the horns. Regular people that were Trump voters, regular Americans. They believe in following the Constitution, supporting law enforcement, Skin color doesn't matter. Our leaders should put the interests of the United States before the interests of other countries. Our borders ought to be secure. Radical, crazy things. Unlike the left that calls our Constitution trash, wants to defund the police, promotes Marxist critical race theory. By the way, Marx was a giant racist. He was a huge racist. He was racist against Jews, Hispanics, blacks. He used the N-word, called Hispanics lazy, said that it was good that the United States took over California and New Mexico from the lazy Mexicans, and that if a few sweet flowers have to be crushed, meaning killed, then that's okay, and that they'll eventually be happy that you subjugated them. That's Karl Marx. They want open borders, and they're saying that America has never been and is not and will never be great. That's not the MAGA movement. That's the radical left. Bum, bum, bum. All right, let's dive into Roe v. Wade and abortion. Speaking of Roe v. Wade may get overturned by the Supreme Court. And in light of that, the leftist crazies and senators voted for the most extreme pro-abortion law imaginable. They not only voted for legislation to preserve Roe v. Wade, even though it's unconstitutional, they voted to go way beyond that by repealing every single state restriction on abortion. Every state that has voted individually as citizens to restrict abortion, they're going to repeal every single thing you voted for in every single state in our union. Oh my gracious. Thankfully, it didn't pass. Listen to this. Listen to this. It barely failed at 49 to 51. Do you understand that? That means a bunch of quote-unquote conservative Republicans voted for repealing every state abortion restriction and going way further than Roe v. Wade did, trying to protect abortion up into 9 months, up into the moment of birth. It's crazy. They're trying to lift all limits on late-term abortions. All parental notification laws would be gone. All 24-hour waiting periods would be gone. All informed consent laws would be gone. Listen, you still have to wait at least 24 hours. I think it's 2 weeks for a gun because maybe you're not going to hunt with it. Maybe you're not going to defend your home with it. Maybe it's not for target practice. You got to wait 2 weeks for that, but you can repeal every law that it's positively you're going to go kill someone. You're not going to stop that? You can't think about it for 24 hours before you kill a life? Yeesh. Speaking of extreme, woke corporations are doing their best to offend the country in pursuit, not of profit, but of radical agendas. Several major corporations, including Amazon, Citigroup, Levi's, and Uber, are offering to pay up to $4,000 for travel expenses so employees in pro-life states can go kill their preborn children in pro-abortion states. Meaning, if an Amazon employee in Texas wants to, they can take an Uber to get an abortion in California. Thankfully, Senator Marco Rubio is sponsoring legislation to make sure that corporations aren't claiming tax benefits for these expenses. He recently released a statement saying businesses should not receive tax breaks for radical leftist activism, especially when that activism jeopardizes our children. Our tax code should encourage family formation and promote a culture of life. Instead, too often, it encourages subsidies for the murder of unborn babies and the performance of horrific, quote, medical, end quote, treatments on kids. I'm introducing legislation to eliminate this gross incentive. Awesome. Good for you. Man. More on this. Congress did a committee on January 6th. They ought to do a committee on May 2nd. Immediately launch a thorough investigation of the left's insurrection against the Supreme Court and the rule of law. What's happening now following the unprecedented leak of Justice Alito's draft opinion is much more than the work of one lone clerk with an ideological axe to grind. It is the left-wing complex that has been mobilized for war against common-sense American people. Police officers are now stationed outside all the justices' homes. Police cars, dump trucks were called in to protect the Supreme Court building. Non-scalable fencing has gone up. All of this is being done to protect the court and the justices, not from conservatives who believe in rule of law and voting, but from left-wing radicals prone to violence. Violence, violence, violence. A pro-abortion group called, quote, Ruth Sent Us is organizing the protest at the justices' homes, named after the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She wasn't a fascist, and she wouldn't believe in this, and she wouldn't support it. And if she did, she'd be a hypocrite. She didn't support it when she was living, and you shouldn't say she supports it now that she's dead. If the left doesn't care, it means to either rule the country or ruin the country. They're using the phrase now, by any means necessary, and that means by any means necessary. Antifa is attacking pro-life Christian ministries. A crisis pregnancy center in Portland was ransacked. Think about that. Left-wing pro-abortion men attacked a group that helps the women who are often abandoned by those liberal men. The violence on the streets is intended to continue the violence in the womb. They've been disrupting church services. They've been protesting and doing grotesque, vulgar things in front of Catholic churches. Predictably, Biden and the White House is refusing to condemn the violence. Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who has a contract with CNN before she leaves the White House, recently was asked about this, and she said, for all those women, men, and others who feel outraged, who feel scared, who feel concerned, the president hears them. He shares that concern and that horror of what he saw in the draft opinion. What? Repealing something that wasn't constitutional in the first place? Thanks. Asked specifically to condemn the threats against the justices and their homes, Psaki refused, saying peaceful protests aren't extreme. But the protests you're seeing are extreme. That's why dump trucks, cop cars, non-scalable fencing, and police officers are stationed outside the Supreme Court and all the justices' homes. Bill Maher, who has Politically Incorrect, used to be on Politically Incorrect, and he's got a different show on HBO now, has been a classic liberal. A classic liberal. Not a leftist, but a classic liberal. We don't agree on many, many things, but he had something to say recently, and I think you'd be interested in hearing it. He said, I learned things this week that are pretty basic things I did not know about abortion. Like, in the modern countries of Europe, are way more restrictive than we are. If you are pro-choice, you would like it a lot less in Germany and Italy and France and Spain and Switzerland. I learned most people who are pro-life are women. Didn't know that. So, for the people who say we're going back to 1973, we're not. That's just factually inaccurate. I love Bill Maher like that. I love Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan and Dave Rubin. I like people that just speak plain facts. Even if I disagree with some of your policies, at least you're telling the truth. And again, where is the FBI? Left-wing demonstrators descended on the quiet Alexandria, Virginia neighborhood where Justice Samuel Alito lives. He and his family have been removed and put in a secure, undisclosed location. Here's the law that they're breaking. This is the federal statute. Whoever, with the intent of interfering with, obstructing, or impeding the administration of justice, or with the intent of influencing any judge in the discharge of his duty, pickets or parades in or near a building housing a court of the United States, or in or near a building or residence occupied or used by such judge, or resorts to any other demonstration in or near any such building or residence shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year, or both. Every single one of those protesters is breaking a federal statute. The Attorney General Merrick Garland, who has gone after with the FBI concerned parents at school board meetings, where is he now? Protesting is outside Virginia homes. It's violating Virginia state law. Governor Glenn Youngkin is vowing to ensure the safety of all Virginia residents. I hope so. I hope so. I'll tell you what, don't forget this when you go to the polls in November and vote. Don't forget this when you listen to the lies on TV. Hopefully you're not watching any mainstream media. Hopefully you're going to credible news sources and reading things from both sides of the fence so you get the absolute whole picture of this. Thank you for listening once again. Thanks to our sponsors, Covenant Eyes at CovenantEyes.com. Get rid of the porn in your life. Improve your relationships. CovenantEyes.com. Use the code REBEL for a free month. Thank you to all of our monthly sponsors. My goodness, we appreciate it. It is such a joy and a blessing to receive your gifts. We need them and we appreciate them. Go to rebelparenting.org and click on the Donate tab. God bless. I'll see you on Tuesday for more Rebel Parenting with Laura and next Thursday for the Rebel News Roundup. God bless. We'll see you soon.